YouTube, what is going on here? Today, the Nier Automata collab is right around the corner for Nikke, and so is the first anniversary. With a lot of new players probably getting into the game soon, I wanted to give beginner players some new tips that'll really help you out in starting, and Nikke got us a victory. These are essentially some things I wish that I knew when I first started playing, and just some general tips that any new player could use, basically to just get a good start in this game. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. The first tip, and probably the most important tip, and this is a mistake that most new players make right off the bat, is the Syncro device. Syncro Trick is one of the most important ways that you can actually progress properly in this game. So you just finished chapter 1. What most people are tempted to do right after they start is they level whatever shiny new SSR they got and level them up and prioritize that. But pretty soon you're going to find this neat little thing called the Syncro device. What the Syncro device does is you're going to find it right here in the outpost. What this does is that it makes all your Nikkes the same level as your 5 highest leveled Nikkes on your account. To get your characters past certain levels in this game, what you're going to need are called limit breaks, and they're essentially these stars right here next to your character's name, and the more duplicates of a character you unlock when they're in SSR, the higher levels they can go. Now, if you're free to play or a low spender, that can be pretty difficult depending on how your luck is, but at the beginning of the game with the Syncro device, there's a way to get past this. Your SR units are going to be easiest to get duplicates for, as you can see within a couple temples, which you'll get a lot of at the beginning of the game. There'll be a way to get them max limit breaks so they can exceed the levels that your SSRs would a lot faster. So the way you want to level up your units in this game is you want to take 5 SR units that you like, one of them should be Mahara, you'll do extra damage, and level them all up evenly. So let's say I had Rappy, Belorda, N102, and Ether here. You want to level them all up equally, make them the highest levels on your account, and then put your favorite SSR Nikkes into the Syncro device, and they'll be the exact same level as those SRs. That way, you can level them up to 160. That is how you want to level up your Nikkes when you start playing Nikke. Tip number 2, at the beginning of the game, you're going to get a building in your outpost called the Tactics Academy, and essentially what this thing here does is that you spend the credits you earn from completing missions or just AFK farming, you spend your credits and you get neat little perks that help your account out. So obviously you see credit requirement is increased by 10%, you get more building slots for your outpost. These are really important, and you should do your best when you're first starting to get these done as quickly as possible while making sure you at least keep your units at a decent level to keep progressing through the story. So the reason that this is super important is there are certain points in this where you unlock synchro slots for your Nikkes. See, if you get to this point right here, for example, you get 5 additional Nikke slots, and that's a way to actually increase your Syncro device, which I talked about in the last point, without having to spend crystals or whale for it. So there actually is a free-to-play way to increase the slots on your Syncro device, which I didn't mention in that last segment because I just wanted to mention it here. So make sure you're leveling up your Tactics Academy whenever you can when you start playing the game originally. Another big tip for you, lost relics. Okay, so on the campaign map, they show you this in the tutorial. There's these little shiny things hidden around here, and those are lost relics. Essentially, the little hidden items that you can grab when you run around the map. They're kind of hard to see, but if you zoom in and just look for the little sparkly effect, you should be able to find them. Basically, these things can hold credits, little tokens and hints and nuggets about the lore that you may find interesting if you're a lore rat and you're into all that kind of stuff. But the more of these you collect, the more crystals you can get for free, and I'll show you where you can claim those in just a sec here. Now when you go into your commander's office inside of the outpost, you go to Lost Relics over here. Basically, this will show, and obviously as you can see, I'm missing a few, you know, even I'm still going back and looking for them occasionally. But the more of these you collect, the more crystals you'll get in this Claim All button down here in the corner, which my face cam is blocking. You'll be able to click that, and the more of these you collect, the more crystals you get. The relics themselves also give music for your jukebox. I just forgot to mention this, but collecting a bunch of the music tracks right here for the track list will also be able to net you some crystals. So make sure you're grabbing all those lost relics, guys, when you're playing campaign. That's tip number 3. Tip number 4, raising the bonds with your Nikke. So, when you're introduced to the game, after you get through the tutorial and everything, the bond system is actually sort of important. Now, every Nikke has a bond level, it increases their stats the higher you get with them, and then also they have these neat little bond episodes that you can see some about their backstory or some funny stories with them. Watching those, it gives you crystals. So, the more you level up your Nikke's bonds, the more free crystals you get, the more tidbits you get about your favorite girls and whatnot. The way you increase their bond is either by advising them every day or by giving them gifts that you get throughout the game. Now, there are gifts that increase their bond level more efficiently depending on the faction that they're a part of. So as you can see, these Elysian tickets here level up Rappy a lot more than, let's say, these blue tickets right here. So keep an eye out for items like that. And basically, the more you bond with your Nikkes, the stronger they get. And then when you advise your Nikkes, you have a chance to earn either 50 or 100 points depending on whatever answer you pick based on the conversation you're having with them. So if you know their personality, the things they like in their character, you can you pick the right answers, you get more points. So there's a link to the description with a total bond guide. Feel free to go take a look if you don't feel like actually reading, because I mean, how many gacha players actually read this? Like, come on. I mean, I read Miharas, but you know, that's besides the point. Anyways, bonds are important. Make sure you do them. Alrighty, tip number 5, how to manage your resources effectively. Now, there's a couple different resources in this game. Obviously, there is the gacha currency, which is the gems. These are your credits. Think of it like your money. You spend these on leveling up gear for your Nikkes, buying things from the shop, the free-to-play shop, and not the cash shop where you spend the real-world money. These USBs here are called the battle data. They're also used when leveling up your Nikkes. Now, one of the most important resources that isn't the crystals, of course, is your core dust. Now, in the beginning of the game, you won't be using much of this, but in late game, there's going to be a severe bottleneck between your credits, your core dust, and your battle data. So I suggest that you make sure you save every single bit of core dust you can find when you progress further into the game. Throughout the game and throughout many events, you'll be getting a lot of these little boxes. You use them, you get free resources from them. It's about as simple as that. Now, I suggest that throughout most of the game, until you need to use core dust, I would just save these boxes as much as possible. And don't really worry about saving the core dust and the battle data too much, because trust me, at the beginning of the game when you're doing your Tactics Academy and leveling up your Nikkes and all of that, it's gonna seem like you never have enough of this stuff, but trust me, as you can see later in the game, you're gonna have plenty more than core dust. So another thing I'd love to mention is I'm going to show you the shop. Do not spend your credits on these, okay? Absolutely do not spend your credits on those. That is a big waste of your credits, your crystals, especially for gear, which I'm going to talk about soon. Only usually grab the item that's for free. There's going to be a free item you get every single day. It's going to be small, but it'll be worth it. I mean, the only thing I would suggest ever buying late game is this $150, like, any amount of core dust you get is possible. Any amount of core dust you get is possible. I would suggest that only, but even that's a stretch. I'm just taking whatever I can get at this point. Now, when you summon
just in time, dear client.
Now, when you summon Nikkes and get dupes, these are called body labels right here. Now, essentially, what these can do is, using these, you can get these coins, and depending on what faction you buy the coins for, you'll be able to strengthen the combat power of your Nikkes just a bit. So, as you can see, we have Bacillus, Elysian, Tetra, Pilgrim, and Abnormal. These are the factions that all your Nikkes are branded underneath. Basically, whenever you level up with a certain amount of coins, that increases their stats a little bit. Same with these classes. All Nikkes are divided into the attacker, defender, or supporter classes. You level them up, they get stronger. And I'll even show you where you can do this. It is going to be back in the outpost to the recycling room here, and basically here's where you would level up. You spend the coins. So for me, it's out of 50 at this point. So you go ahead and send them in there and they'll level up and their stats will increase. These are from research points. You get them from your outpost defense, which is your AFK that you claim every day. You get a certain amount and you level up this thing right here. you'll get more HP for your Nikke, so that's also very important as well. Gear is going to be like your armor, essentially. Now, you can level them up with credits and, didn't mean to unequip that, but with spare armor parts that you'll have, you can use these duplicates to level up your armor for your Nikke. Now, this also increases your Nikke's combat power. Every Nikke has one. Now, early in the game, you're going to get gear that you can level up, but I don't suggest leveling it until you specifically need to, like, get your party over a tiny threshold. I wouldn't suggest leveling any of your gear until you get to a certain tier. Now, the gears come in different tiers based on color. I wouldn't start, I'd say the earliest you should start is probably around when you start getting purple, and then really start investing in it once you get the gold tier. Save your resources, only level your gear in early game when you need to just barely get over that combat power threshold. There's another useful tip for you right there. Another tip right here, the Nikke Wishlist. So, when you go to summon on the standard banner with your normal tickets or your normal pulls, what you have right here is this wishlist button. And essentially, this wishlist button, you can control what Nikkes you want to get from your pulls, and what you can set what SSR Nikkes you would prefer to get from your summons from these separate factions. Now, the one faction that's missing here is the Pilgrims, which is one of the rarest rated series of units in the game. They're usually very strong, so that's why they're so rare. So you can't, unfortunately, set them as your wish list. You'll get them randomly when you get an SSR, but you can set any other SSR Nikke from any other faction that you would like, except for some of the limited event ones that were FOMO. So you can pretty much pick whoever you want, though obviously there are some that you would prefer to get over others. So if you want to know more about that, I'll leave a link to a tier list I believe is probably the best tier list out there for this game on Nikke.gg. Those guys definitely know what they're talking about over there. I would suggest looking at, if you really care about the meta, which a lot of people do in this game, go ahead and check out that tier list and put the strongest Nikkes in the wishlist slots. If I were to definitely suggest to anybody, I would 1000% put Leader in there. This little girl with a construction hat. She's one of the best support units in the game right now, so she is easily your number one that I would suggest. Some other ones, Drake's really good, Maxwell's really good. If you get Scarlet, Adme can be good. Pepper is a good healer. Laplace isn't really used that much anymore, but I don't really care about the meta anyways. I'm just giving you some of my personal picks. Of Tetra, you know, Dola's pretty good. Good burst 2. Rupee's also good. Alice is busted. And there's a lot of different options. Novel is another one. The Bunny Girls are actually really good, so I would recommend them as well. And then for Elysian, they have some Nikkes. They're like one of the weaker factions in the game, but I would easily suggest Privity's a good enabler, Helm's a solid lifesteal healer, and then besides that, you can pretty much put anyone you want in there. Those are my wishlist suggestions, so there's another tip for you right there. That is going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you found it helpful. If you were thinking about trying Nikke, now is the perfect time to do it. The Nier collab starts September 1st, and the first anniversary is just around the corner. That starts in early November. If you want to find more tips about this game, the link down in the description to Nikke.gg will be there. Extremely helpful if you don't mind reading and shifting through a lot of stuff. The guys who made the website are incredible, so go give it a look. It has any extra information you need for stuff about late game, boss strategies, lots of stuff. They literally have everything on there that I didn't cover in this video. This is just a beginner's guide. If you want to follow me on Twitch, the link will be in the description. Feel free to check me out if you want. And with all that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take it easy.
So smooth when you walked in, slow-mo hair flip, caught my eye from the jump. Got high socks and the blades don't quit. Good guy, girl, go ahead and find what you got. I know that you gotta leave, but I got just what you need, so please tell me what you want, Said that she was tired of the rap, so I came back.